Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. DB333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich as the German Empire. Now, last time we were here together, we went ahead and puppeted the Irish state, instituted our own puppet regime, which I got a YouTube comment that actually did bring up a good point. That we might not have wanted to put the really fascist guy in, or the pseudo-authoritarian gentleman. Which, what's your name? Hamper Franklin, you bring up a good point. But, you know what? Too late now. Also, from the description, it seemed like he'd be very, very dedicated to our cause. So I figured, let's just go with it. Let's just take him. Why not? So that's why we did it. In the meanwhile, we ended Black Monday. We're also working on ending the Cunt-Fi and the Carlists here. In the meanwhile, they invade fucking Florida? Really? Alright, well, we'll finish up the Cunt-Fi, and then we'll send our guys over, the rest of our guys over to the Union State. See if we can't get that sorted. And in the meanwhile, solve some nationwide rallies. So let's try to look for a front. Rally. Alright, in the meanwhile, what do we want to get working on? Let's get some more military factories going. Probably some infrastructure, honestly. There we are. Ooh. In 1918, the replacement of the infamous free-class voting system in Prussia with plural voting laws is considered a tremendous achievement for the progressive politicians, but by 1936 it is no longer enough. Much of the empire has by now adopted universally equal voting, and no longer satisfied with the achievement from 2 decades ago. The SPD was the first to demand the establishment of equal suffrage in Prussia in its electoral program. Now that resistance to Central Rome Prussia has been squashed and the DU appears stable, the SPD representatives in the Prussian House of Reps have presented a proposal for electoral reform to the floor. It will have to not only defeat resistance from the conservative deputies, but also from the reactionary deputies in the Prussian House of Lords, who will already fight back against any perceived threats to their power. Already, their influence was curbed in 1919 with the introduction of the Prussian interest representatives, from the farmer and artisan to the Junker to the industrialists. What proposal will Social Democrats bring? I'm going to save here, and we are going to go balls to the wall. We will be thorough. Abolition of lords, one man, one vote. Not good enough for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is possibly going to be a very, very heavy reload video. If you all can think back to my TNO series when we were playing Central Africa, going after that fucking Topi. I'm thinking something like that. No, next generation is not gonna have to finish this job. I refuse. bitch. You know what? I'm not going to be too prickly on this. Through long and arduous debates, forcing compromise from the DU at every junction, the consumers of Russia have managed to unravel the bill and maintain a lot of their institutional protections. The House of Lords will be maintained. Some restrictions, such as infringement on those reliant on poor support, will be retained. Of equal suffrage will be severed from Prussia. In most regards, this is still an accomplishment, although it means the next generation will still have to finish the job. Better than nothing. Nah, fuck, it's not good enough. Nah, we'll leave it be. What will this... He's probably working on some other stuff on here. Protect Mexico. What is that? That's interesting. Let's check out some of this stuff. Let's do the Department for New World Operations. The beginning of the American Civil War means that the end of the Monroe Doctrine for the foreseeable future, which opens all of Central and South America to direct intervention from European powers. Let's use this to our advantage and establish a separate department for operations in the New World in the Foreign Office to expand our influence. Let's do it. How's Argentina doing? Nah. Lame. Because I know Argentina can join the Reich Pact, can't they? Ooh. Interesting. General Vasily Boldarev, Russia's complicated figure, considered a principal defender of democracy by some and a power-hungry traitor by others. Ever since his attempted coup against Republican 29, he's spent some time in exile in America and Ukraine. Now he's proposed to the German government to help organize his army of Russian freedom. With war between Moscow and Berlin seemingly increasingly likely, he could be a useful ally for us, serving as a government in exile that we could utilize to undermine the Kremlin. In the future, his army could serve as the foundation of a post-war Russia that would stabilize and be stable and not hostile to Germany. Let's give him some Mausers from last war. Very interesting idea, that. Are we good to... No. The Hawaiian royal families come to Berlin in order to meet with the German royal family and other noble dignitaries. They spend their days touring the sights of Berlin, as well as private meetings with their political leaders of the country. The relations between the German Empire and the King of Hawaii have improved because of the visit. Look at that. Red Florida. You know, now that I said that, I can't be very surprised about that. Red Miami-Dade County. Yep. I'm not very shocked anymore. Deploy. So we should be getting training up more of these guys now that I think about it. We still got some time. Huh? What the fuck happened here? Well, this will not do. God, that really sucks. Jesus. Okay. Damn. Now let's work on some Mediterranean overtures. Our colonies in Asia and Africa have increased the strategic importance of the Mediterranean control. The shipping lanes in the sea must remain safe, and the states on the Mediterranean coast must align with the Kaiserreich, eventually offering a secure flank during the Second Weltkrieg. So, Crete, Cyprus, Malta, along with two Sicilies, and then the Gibraltar Straits. Oh, did they do a fucking naval invasion of Barcelona? Singles have taken over the Netherlands, exposing a vulnerable flank through which the rural area, our primary industrial center, can be hit. Military hotheads are proposing that we invade right now while they still lack international recognition, but the Dutch, or Batavians as they call themselves now, are surely dug in, having expected this move already. They propose that we send agents that undermine the new regime's stability, which could just be a more subtle way of securing their loyalty. The third possibility, just leave them alone. Direct intervention might escalate into full-out war with the Internationale. Send the soldiers. Oh, there we go. There's one. You know what? Come on in, Cuba. Why not? At least we got Cuba, boys. We lost the Dutch, but we got the Cubans. Understood. This is the same one we've had before. How are all the coalitions doing? We can afford to give them a little bit of a... Honduras. Interesting. Fall of Barcelona. I'm guessing that's going to go ahead and mean follow the cunt-fi. Alright, in effort to better prepare the southern border against a single threat, the government of Wallonia has requested that we loosen some of the military restrictions imposed on them. Oldenburg, guard the North Sea. Yeah, we'll do that. First economic... These guys on our faction? They're not. Following our first economic aid package, the Philippines would create a large network of contacts. Our German businesses are thriving on this new market, but we could also use these new friends to advance our strategic interests. Some circles within the German Navy believe we should convince their government to allow the establishment of a major naval base in the north of the archipelago to bring them further into our sphere. Well, let's propose a deal with their government. And the Brunswick front is just being bitchy. You want financing? Yeah, sure. We can do that. Mediterranean overtures. Okay. I guess they're not guaranteed to join our faction now. But I'm not too worried. Oh, we should probably be working on some military stuff. Through the footsteps of sect. The reformists and built into the programs of Han von Secke seek to transform the here into a professional fighting force. There's no point in holding on to old aristocratic traditions when the masses can bring even more expertise and talent, and technology must be applied for a combined arms offensive that runs labs around old infantry-based armies. Today is a momentous celebration. In fact, exactly 50 years ago, in 1888, our Kaiser, Wilhelm II, assumed the throne after the unfortunate death of his father, Friedrich III. The past 50 years have seen Germany become a worldwide empire and stage of hegemony throughout Europe, all while making immense reforms at home. The Wilhelmina era has been a period of great change, conflict, but also greatness. The Kaiser, already nearing 80 years old and in weakening health, has made a tour of his empire, meeting his subjects and visiting the monarchs of the constituent states. His eldest son and heir apparent, Crown Prince Wilhelm, fulfilled much of his duties during the visit. Already people and government officials are expecting him to be required to assume the throne soon. Preparations slowly being made for transfer of power and duties. Long live Kaiser Wilhelm II. Well, he may not live for much longer, but may he live long until that day comes. Welcome back, boys. We're sending you to America. Where the fuck did you go, buddy? There you are. Move you over here. Oh. This new arms industries. Alright. In 1924, General Hans von Secke was appointed Chief of German General Staff to remain decades of decorated service in the Imperial German Army and really got to work. Secke had a fairly radical vision of military reform. He wanted to transform the inadequate here into an army of the modern age with separate land, naval, and air arms under a singular armed force that answers to a single ministry of the military, all while the army is transformed into a professional corps that employs cutting-edge combined arms tactics in order to break through enemy lines, encircle them, and destroy them. His battles with the establishment civilian politicians eroded his political capital, and he was removed after the crown achievement of his leadership, the independence of the Luftwaffe and establishment of a secretary to the Air Force and the Imperial Cabinet. His vision still attracts followers, however, and they're called reformist. Kurt von Hammerstein-Eckward, the current chief of the army, is a follower of these ideas. Walter Reinhardt was one of their inspirations, while Ernst Volkheim, Erich von Bohnen, and Oswald Lutz are their main ideologues. And they also garner support among the veteran rank and file. Though few of them hold democracy in high regard, they have entered in an easy alliance with the SPD and parliamentarian reformists. After all, their radical visions require a radical political look, too, and only the SPD is willing to change the old Prussian military establishment. Modern war requires a modern army. Let's work on the second Einkreisungstheory. theory. Much like before the Weltkrieg, we are becoming surrounded by enemies. This is, of course, the fruit of the villainous plotting of Russians and syndicalists, not the outcome of mistakes by our foreign policy. However, force of arms will correct this development. The second Einkreisung must serve as a waking up call for armed forces in society. There we go. Alright. Where do we want to send these guys? Send them towards Atlanta. After the annexation of Galicia and Lodomoria, we've taken control of the former Duchy of Bukovina. Oh shit, look at that. Traditionally greatly governed during the set of parts of strong and Romanian plebs arranged to probably join Romania. Bucharest has asked us to allow a regional referendum for some trade agreements. Do they even have core on this? They don't. Yeah, you know what? That sounds fair. Incredible. The Nork races have existed for thousands of years. Let's negotiate with federal states. Hello? You guys want to actually, go over there? I guess they don't. Cool. History clashes, there we go. Though the Brunswick Front was founded with a joint plan of action, each of the member parties and individuals interpreted their goals differently. Moderate conservatives see this only as a temporary allowance to put an end to Marx's aspirations and allow the country to return to respectable parliamentarian life as seen before 36. Whereas their radical counterparts hope that the polarization between left and right will pave the way to a national revolution, putting the end to parliamentary democracy and bringing forth a strong regime. One believer in such is the German Socialist Party, a minor far-right party led by Julius Streicher and Gregor Strasser, represented among national students and veterans, and using this to occasionally cause trouble in the streets. Thanks to their aggressive activism, they were invited to the Brunswick Front. They used this opportunity brilliantly, forcing themselves into papers with harassment, loud protests, anti-Semitic actions, and rallies, while receiving generous funding from the Brunswick Committee. Now the final piece in Streicher's plan is put in place, yet DSP's rally in Berlin today